Welcome to the Fret Frontier. This is part 3 of Constant Bass Blues for your baritone ukulele. Today, we're going to be moving up the neck with our improvisational notes. So in our first 2 episodes, we stayed in the first 3 frets on our first 2 strings to select our melody notes for our Constant Bass Acoustic Blues. And again, just for review, Constant Bass Acoustic Blues leverages the 12-bar blues chord progression, but it plays the chord structure through bass lines. So anytime you would see D, which is the root in the key of D, as your chord, you're going to play your 4th string open, that's a D. And when you see G or G7, you're going to play your 3rd string open, because that's a G. And that will give you your background, the pad of your chord sound, so that you can go ahead and improvise on your first 2 strings with the melody notes that are available to you based on how you're approaching this, as you accompany yourself using the bass strings to represent the chord structure. So that's just a brief summary of parts 1 and 2. We'll put links in the description below if you are just new to this episode series, or you would like to go back and review any of the information from the first 2 parts. So in this episode now, we're taking a look at frets 3 through 6. So in part 1, we learned that our collection of notes, or our community of notes on the first 2 strings that are available to us in our key of D blues scale are available all the way up to this 13th fret. We took a look at to the 13th. We could go as high as you want, but we'll stop at the 13th because some ukuleles have a shorter scale. So we'll stop there. But thinking about it in this linear fashion, there's nothing wrong with that, makes it a little bit more difficult to come up with your melody pattern lines, right? And we're doing riff-based blues here, where we're trying to create little melody lines as we take our solo. So we're breaking this big, huge community, you could think of, down into different neighborhoods. We had the first 3 frets that we started off with, and now we're moving to another neighborhood. We've got these next 4 frets that we're taking a look at, 3 through 6. In this particular collection of notes, let's play them first. We would have our 3rd finger on the 5th fret on the 1st string, 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, little finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So now let's take a look at our note choices again, showing what they are in terms of the scale names. So when we were looking at our first 3 frets, we had degrees 4, flat 3, 1, which is the root, D, right, key of D, and then the flat 7. When we come up to our next little neighborhood here, we've got a 5, we've got a 4, we still have the 4, we had that before. We have a flat 3, we had that before, and we have our 1. So in this new area here, we have the introduction of that 5th scale degree that we didn't have available to us before, but we're losing the flat 7. It's not in this little area. So when we play this, it will sound like the key of D, but a little bit different because the notes are in a different order. And now we have the 5th scale degree, which didn't have before, and we no longer have the flat 7. So let me play our new notes for you. Okay, that's what that sounds like. And then what we had before, I'll play for you. Okay, so you could tell sounds very similar, still in the key of D. But now everything that we would play here is going to sound a little bit different. So you can leverage ideas that you played in one section of the neck in another section, and you immediately get a slightly different sound because of the arrangement of the notes and also the population of notes in that area. So we're breaking this long linear pattern down into digestible little groups where we can stop and just concentrate on our content, about what we want to hear, what notes are available, how do those change in presentation, what the ear absorbs, even when you play the exact same thing that you played before physically, because the notes are in a slightly different order and you have a slightly different selection of notes. Okay, so we're going to go through this pattern, first of all, let's play together just the notes, get them under your fingers. So let's start off with our third finger on the 5th fret. We'll play that together. And then we're going to take our first finger, 3rd fret, 1st string. Okay, let's go to our 2nd string, little finger, 6th fret, play it together. Okay. And then our 1st finger, 3rd fret, we're playing it together. Okay? So now I'll suggest an exercise that you can use to start to immediately think about these two little neighborhoods as being happy being together. It's a community. They're not so separate that they don't talk to each other. You can move from one to the other whenever you want to. And that's what we want to always be thinking about. We're playing right now, we're getting the coordination and applying our themes into these little areas, but we don't want to wait all the way till we get to the end of the notes that we're going to address before we recognize that these things can be combined together. So give yourself a nice little meditative warm-up exercise when you're starting off your day with your instrument to just enjoy how it sounds and hear these nice patterns and try to blend them together. So anytime you want to hear your D chord, we're in this D tonality, we're going to hit our 4th string. Anytime you want to hear that G chord, well, that's the 4 chord of our scale. We'll hit that 3rd string as a G note. And you can do, 2 to 4 measure collections of that sound. D for 2 measures, G for 2 measures, or D for 4 measures, G for 4 measures, which is going back between the 1 chord and the 4 chord. Not worried about turnarounds, just listening to that collection of notes. Think about them first by themselves as individual neighborhoods. And then start to blend them together. You can do them quarter notes like I was doing there, 1 beat at a time. Start to notice the similarities between them, right? We've got this flat 3 here on the 1st fret of the 1st string. And we've got this flat 3 over here, 6th fret on your 2nd string, same note. So you can play this sound. It's the same as this. Okay. And another thing you can do is start to blend those together with slides, right? If I play this flat 3 and then pick basically any fret on my 2nd string and slide up, I have a target. I want to get over here to the 6th fret. Slide up. That's a sound that you can use to enhance your playing, to add interest for your listener. So say you do something like little things like that. And then also, when you're doing this, see if you can start singing along with your pattern. So you could play it the first time. Ba, 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 and repeat it, singing with it, so that you can hear that melody line. And then eventually, and we'll talk about this again, you can start reversing it to where you sing it first and play it after, and the step between that will be singing it at the same time that you play it. So you want to connect your ears with the sound and your physical body, your mind, your body, your instrument, all working together, becoming very comfortable and familiar with these beautiful sounds and how they connect. And then you're always looking forward to what you're going to play, because what you can think about then, you can manifest on your instrument because it's there. So all you have to do is become comfortable with hearing it while you're playing it, and then you can make it up and immediately be able to predict where that is on your instrument, okay? Not today, not today. As you do it, all right? So make sure you're always having fun with this. These are great ways to explore your instrument and just make it a joy to be with. Spend some time with it, because your ideas are just as good as anybody else's or the ideas you would find in a book. When you find a melody on here that you like, that's your song. It's your song. You made it up. So you get to enjoy that and start to create the things that you wish somebody else would have written, because you like the way it sounds. You just made it up, so play it again. It becomes your song. And then these will be things you add into your toolkit that you could either use in improvising, or you might decide you're going to write a song with that melody that you came up with, okay? So start thinking about those things and just really enjoying this, because that's what all of this is about, right? And fretted instruments are wonderful for that, because we have frets, so we're going to hear the same note every time we get in that same area, unlike instruments that don't have frets, where you have all these semitones in the middle, and you really have to work on your ear all the time, right? With us, we can predict when we hit this, as long as we've tuned our instrument correctly, that's what we're going to hear. So we can start to really get in tune with that, not just tuning our instruments, but also tuning our ears and our bodies, so that we have real comfort, real working knowledge of our instrument, okay? So let's go on now. We're just going to play what we did in part 1 using our part 3 notes, okay? So this is the quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, just getting the comfort, getting coordinated. I'll put it up on the screen as I'm playing it, and you should be familiar with this. If you feel uncomfortable, go back to part 1 or step through how this works. So I'll play this slowly. Let's do it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so notice we're playing the same last 4 bars that we did in the first lesson. We're keeping our turnarounds consistent. So in this episode, we gained more information, we gained more coordination, and we expanded a little bit about how to think about these scales in our information section, so you start to internalize them, make them your own, little by little. And if all you do in this part is start thinking about connecting things together and practicing them in that way as a warm-up, that's fine. That's where you are, and that's great. And then just use the practice part where we do our coordination to get ready for bringing this alive in part 4. And then we'll have 2 different choruses to go through our 12-bar blues, and that'd be really cool. So just keep working on it. I hope you're enjoying this and that you're getting something out of it. Please leave me a comment below. Let me know how it's going. Maybe subscribe or hit the like button. Let me know what's working for you, or other things that you might want me to cover a little more deeply. And I'll be happy to go through that. I'm so glad that you stopped by and spent some time with me, and I'll see you in the next episode.